Welcome. I provide online therapy via Skype for the treatment of anxiety and depression and other emotional problems, including agoraphobia. So if you're looking for effective online therapy for your agoraphobia, then I invite you to please reach out to me. Contact me through my website and ask any questions you may have about my approach and how to overcome agoraphobia effectively without using medications. And I'd be happy to answer any questions you have. And when you feel ready, we can schedule some sessions. So I usually see people once a week. Typically, in the case of agoraphobia, we may need to meet for 6 to 7 or 8 sessions, depending on how well you do. The most important thing in overcoming agoraphobia is your commitment to change. If you are really motivated to overcome your agoraphobia and the associated anxiety and panic attacks, then we'll be able to make progress. If you're able to really work hard at your recovery process and put the methods into practice that I'll be teaching you during the first sessions, then you'll see results. So what are these methods? Well, the very first thing we must do is design a schedule of incremental challenges so that you have material to work with every day. But just throwing yourself into a difficult, anxiety-producing situation is not a suitable strategy. That's not going to produce results. Exposure therapy by itself is not usually very effective. What we have to do is train with the mind. We have to prepare very carefully before we do any of these challenges. And that is the training that I provide called mindfulness therapy or mindfulness-based exposure therapy. So this is where we combine the methods and the technology of mindfulness for working with the anxiety reactions. Anxiety itself is a habit. It's not a disease, it's not a disorder. It should not be treated with medications, in my opinion. It should be treated as a psychological habit. And habits can be changed when you bring more conscious awareness to them. And of course, that is the primary focus of mindfulness training, is to bring more conscious awareness to your anxiety reactions and to the anxiety-producing thoughts that tend to feed that anxiety. We must change our relationship to the mind, that is, to emotions and to thoughts and beliefs. We have to change our relationship to the mind. We have to become an observer of these mental objects. Thoughts, emotions, memories, beliefs, perceptions, these are all technically called mental objects. They arise in the mind, they exist, and they pass away. The problem in the case of extreme anxiety and panic attacks and agoraphobia is that you become identified with these mental objects, these thoughts and emotions and beliefs. You tend to take on the identity of these mental objects, and then you become a prisoner of these mental habits. So in mindfulness training, we are learning to break free from these habits by establishing ourselves as the observer. The observer is not the same as the contents of the mind. Those are the objects. The observer is a totally different place within you that is separate from those objects. It's able to see them, but it does not become dominated by those objects. So that's the first part of mindfulness training, how to develop this quality of mindfulness we call equanimity, which is rather like learning how to stand on the bank of a river without falling into the river. So the river is not the cause of our suffering. It's the lack of balance whereby we fall into the river. That lack of balance is the cause of our suffering. And it's the same with the mind. Anxiety and anxiety-producing thoughts in themselves are not actually the problem. The problem is in this reactive identification. We just fall into the trap of these thoughts and emotional reactions. They're just habits. The good news for you is that habits can be changed. All habits can be changed with increased conscious awareness, with increased mindfulness. So the way we go about overcoming agoraphobia or any other form of anxiety disorder is by developing ourselves as the observer. So that way we stop feeding the anxiety habit. When we stop feeding it, it has no choice but to continue its path of healing and resolution. All anxiety will heal itself if you do not react to it. If you react, it's really like throwing wood on a fire. It just feeds the fire endlessly. But a fire is a very good example here, because the primary direction, if you like, for a fire is to burn itself out, to extinguish itself. There are no exceptions to that. Any fire, once created, will burn itself out and become extinct. And it's the same with our anxiety. If we stop feeding it through identification and through reactivity in general, where we become lost in reactive thoughts that feed it, if we stop that process, then the anxiety will have no choice but to subside, diminish, and eventually extinguish itself, just like the fire. So this is what's called the healing effect or liberating effect of mindfulness training. Just by the very process of cultivating and training yourself to remain as the observer, you will facilitate transformation and healing and freedom from anxiety. As we develop more equanimity, we can then start to respond with even stronger mindfulness methods. And this is really the response of compassion. Compassion is an integral part of mindfulness. Mindfulness is not just awareness, it's awareness combined with compassion, with this inner natural, innate state that we have of responding to suffering when we see suffering, whether it's external or internal. We have a natural capacity to respond with compassion, to help that entity heal. So as we begin to develop more equanimity, we also begin to awaken compassion internally, and this compassion greatly accelerates the healing process. So we start to develop compassion towards our anxiety. We start to see that anxiety very much in the same way that you might see a child that was in pain or a hurt animal. You already know how to respond to suffering externally. We have to learn how to do this internally, and that is a primary focus of mindfulness training and mindfulness meditation. Meditation simply means that we choose to direct our conscious awareness and our compassion towards the mind. That is the central principle of mindfulness meditation. Meditation on the mind to facilitate healing and well-being. So if you'd like to learn more about the mindfulness-based approach to overcoming your agoraphobia, then please reach out to me by email. Let's schedule a session. All sessions are done via Skype. You must have some kind of video interface so that you can see each other. That's essential really for good communication. But if you have Skype or FaceTime or similar platform, then therapy by Skype is just as effective as meeting in person. There's no difference. So if you'd like to get started with me and learn how to overcome your agoraphobia from home using mindfulness therapy, then please contact me. Thank you.